This is my third video about the Inos caravan. Videos 1 and 2 were basically an in-depth review after the first season of use. This is an update which will cover how we've got on, how the caravan is done, but also more specifically a range of modifications and additions which we've made. I should point out that at the time of recording, the caravans shown on the Fifth Wheel Company website are pretty much the same as the ones in this video, obviously modifications accepted. However, the caravans that have been delivered in 2023 have had some minor changes. Having looked around this updated version at the factory, it appeared to me that a lot of the changes made have been a way to make the actual production time more streamlined. Given the effect that there's now a waiting list, which is growing longer and longer, it's now over a year, they obviously had to find a way to build the caravans more quickly. With regard to the exterior changes, it should come as no surprise I regard these as a definite improvement, not least because I can see elements of my own ideas have been adopted. As far as the interiors are concerned, some people prefer the older version, as in the one in these videos, and some prefer the newer version, which you will see on the website, I'm fairly sure, in the near future. So, how's our Inos performed in its second full season of use? Well, in a word, brilliantly. And by that I mean in terms of the caravan systems, its functions, towing, accommodation, equipment. It's all worked really, really well, so not much to add here. The only thing I will say is that the exposed sealant continues to act like a dirt magnet and has to be cleaned with a specialist cleaner. If you don't keep on top of this, it will go mouldy, because on the roof there are sections where the mould's taking hold already. You don't see it, but on the main body, must keep it clean. Our first modification was in fact a repair. It was a result of going over the very tight little humpback bridge going into the Chatsworth Caravan Club site. We ripped off the angle bracket which supports the brake rod. Here you'll see I've actually produced something which is a little bit more robust, but at the same time being made of polypropylene, it can bend slightly, and also if it does break off it won't rip the floor. Actually, while we've got this view of the caravan, I'll point out one or two more things. You can probably see the jacking pads I made for the E&P axle jacks. You can see the extra cross members you get on this uprated 2,800 kilo chassis. And on the right hand side behind that cross member, you can probably just about see the insulation which is covering the grey water tank, which is fitted to this particular Inos. We found the Thule panorama room to be excellent in use. It does take a bit longer to erect than, say, an ordinary air awning, but it is modular in that you do a panel at a time, as many or as few as you like. It's better on uneven ground, and once it's up, it is incredibly strong, even in the worst of conditions. It also happens to look really nice, but yes, it is expensive. One thing I have done though is to make life much easier and quicker when erecting the awning is to make brackets on the side of the caravan which you simply bolt the inner uprights to. This saves time, very secure, and also it's perfectly aligned every time. Before committing to a satellite system, we thought we'd explore mobile Wi-Fi first. After some research, I bought a pointing aerial and a Teltonica router. The aluminium tray performs two functions. First of all, it provides the metal base, which apparently all of these aerials perform much better when on a metal base. But also it means we can actually move this aerial anywhere on the roof. It need not just be over a cupboard. The performance of this system overall has been so good that for now we're no longer thinking about getting a satellite dish. Not going to mention all of the changes we've made this year. There have been far too many of them, but a couple more that spring to mind. Fairly simple cosmetic changes. Firstly, in the washroom, we've added a splashback behind the basin. And into the lounge, a full-length mirror on the dividing door. This has the benefit of being, yes, a full-length mirror, and also makes the room look even bigger, which is rather nice. But again, very simple, cosmetic change, but we like it. And so to the main reason for doing this video. This is the standard Inos seating, the cloth version from the year 2022. There's actually nothing wrong with the seating as such. It's perfectly good caravan seating. There's a wide range of good quality fabrics to choose from, and you can even choose leather if you wish. The foam which makes up the structure of this upholstery is also pretty good. I know because I've had mine apart. Just for illustration, the leather option on our version of the caravan looked like this. So the covers feature exactly the same detailing, it's just this time it's made of leather rather than cloth. And on the latest caravan, the leather option now looks like this. These seats now look quite different. I haven't seen a cloth version of these, so can't comment if they'll be the same overall effect. Having said there's nothing wrong with this seating, it doesn't mean it's particularly comfortable. Like all caravan seats, it's a compromise. It has to be both a seat to sit on, but also make up into a bed. And therein lies the problem, because a mattress and your lounge chair have very different requirements. So this meant that to sit on, I'm pretty sure we could do something better. Of course, that would mean losing out the bed function. But as it happens, the floor is big enough for an airbed should we need to use one in an emergency. Now, I have seen photographs before of Inos caravans from the factory where they've got rid of the front bench seating and put in 2 armchairs. The problem with this, of course, is that you lose all of that storage space, and really we did not want that to happen, so I did not consider taking out the existing seating, and here's why. Beneath here is a nice large slide-out shoe locker. Beneath here we have all the sections of our Thule panorama room awning. And beneath here we keep our Isabella small stools, small tabletops, leg rest extensions, etc., etc. Given all these constraints, making a substantial improvement to the seating comfort was never going to be a quick, simple or easy job. I should point out that it should have been finished before the end of 2023. Unfortunately, the upholsterer I was using at the time let me down very badly. This has meant finding a second upholsterer, which has meant a big delay. It's also actually meant an increase in cost because the second upholsterer had to undo some of the substandard work of the first upholsterer. So it's not been entirely without its problems. It's not quite in its final form yet. There are 1 or 2 things I want to just tweak. For example, by the door here, this panel will be made slightly taller to hide the ends of the sections. But other than that, it's pretty much there. The light grey sections are made of leather. That's leather from a cow. And the darker grey is a velour type material, which is both very strong, very hard wearing. I think it's 250,000 on the rub scale, but also fairly plush. Unlike leather, when you put your bottom on this, it isn't going to puddle and stretch anywhere near as badly. Going into more detail on the seat backs, I took them apart. I split them into 2 to get a more sculpted look, and you'll be able to see from this picture I added an extra layer of softer foam, which means you sink in a bit further. For the seat bases, I also used most of the original foam, which is pretty good. The one place I didn't do that was where we're going to spend most of the time sitting, in the TV viewing point if you like. Here I swapped the original foam for some latex. It's much more resilient, better recovery, and it's going to last again a very long time. It's very comfortable, but it's remarkably heavy, not to mention remarkably expensive. One barrier to the comfort required still remained, however, and that is basically the overall sides and base of the seating area. It's very upright, a bit sit up and beg, so something needed to be done to change this, especially where we spend most of our time seating. So this is my solution. If you're thinking, wow, that's clever, well, I must confess it isn't quite as clever as you might think, because the base pulling out is part of the actual original mechanism for making up the bed. All I did to the base part of this was to reinforce the sliders and other small reinforcements to make sure it'll take our weight in everyday use. One part which was surprisingly difficult to achieve was the actual position of space of the rear hinge. Get it in the wrong place and the whole thing feels and looks unnatural. This took quite a bit of trial and error, as of course did the different types of foam, the different types of angles, different types of padding in different places. The headrest we did last of all, because only when the seats are in place can I judge the exact position, height and also the right composition of the foam to get the desired effect. So why on earth go to all the time and trouble to make it electric? Well, I can't leave it in its out position because the slide out wouldn't be able to close. And also, a manual version would have to be some way of making it move without it moving when you didn't want it to. So this is where putting in some electric linear actuators gave you good control and also held it in place. Because of the width and nature of the sliding section, I've had to use 2 linear actuators. I've also had to mount them in a way which keeps them from intruding into the storage space beneath, and I've managed to do that. So overall, again, very pleased. I did go to some lengths to limit the extra weight which I've added with this system. It does weigh more than the original, hence using lightweight ply, aluminium where possible, etc. It does weigh a little bit more, but luckily with regard to the nose weight, it's all within tolerances. Given all the issues which I mentioned earlier, this has taken both a lot longer and cost a lot more than originally planned. In fact, it's cost easily as much as the full leather option from the factory. Having said all of that, we like the way it looks, we love the way it feels to sit in or on, and we are therefore very pleased with our unique Inos interior.